Y a ver qué cuentan aquí. Tened en cuenta, repito, son charlas, ¿eh? Son charlas y no aquí no van a ver nada más. Bueno, por ejemplo, sí se sabe que va a haber un extra gameplay de Piratas del Caribe, ¿no? Pero se va a centrar en entrevistas. Una fotillo. Eso estaría bien, ¿eh? Eso estaría bien. Sería... Sí, sí. Eso sí.
Bring me that horizon.
If we can imagine what to do, we can
El tráiler de Outer Worlds 2 en serio me parece una genialidad, tío. Me parece súper gracioso. Me parece chulísimo, tío. No he visto las imágenes de Ninja Theory, no. El tráiler de Outer Worlds es una mofa total es una mofa a los anuncios prematuros, totalmente. Pues no he visto ninguna. No he visto ninguna.
Hello and welcome to Xbox Game Showcase Extended. I'm your host, Paris Lilly. You may also know me from Gamertag Radio and Kind of Funny. I'm excited to be here with you today. We just saw a recap of Sunday's Xbox Showcase and wow, 30 games from some of the world's most talented developers, and 27 of those games are coming to you on Xbox Game Pass.
Sí, sí, borran las imágenes.
In-engine footage of Starfield and learned that yes, Bethesda is bringing it to Xbox, PC, and day one on Game Pass exclusively. They also showed us Battlefield 2042.
He escuchado gritos. ¿Habéis escuchado de fondo gritos?
Stalker 2,
yo los he escuchado.
Psychonauts 2, and how about Redfall? Like they said, this year, Xbox is all about the games. Today, Xbox Game Showcase Extended is our chance to hear from the developers behind the games that are redefining interactive entertainment. Developers like Double Fine, Playground Games, Supergiant, Rare, 343 Industries, and more. We also have a new accessory design program to share with you.
Un nuevo programa de
and a
diseños.
couple of other cool surprises. That's enough talk. Let's jump right in.
Y un par de sorpresas. Un streamer podcaster.
You can see it for yourselves. Forza Horizon 5 looks phenomenal. And here with us today, all the way from the UK, is Mike Brown from Playground Games.
Playgrounds.
Mike,
Buenas, JJ.
thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, great to be here.
Now, Mike, Forza Horizon
Trek
has taken driving fans to Colorado, France, Italy, Australia, and the UK. How did you decide on Mexico for Forza Horizon 5?
Yeah, so we knew right from the start that we wanted it to be the largest Horizon yet. But it's not far down the path from that you realize you don't want to go big if it's just going to be more of the same. So we also knew that it needs to be the most contrasting, most diverse open world we'd ever built. And then when you start to look at Mexico, it really is like the whole world in one country. It's got snowy peaks, tropical jungles, epic canyons, amazing beaches, beautiful architecture, incredible historic cities, but also modern cities as well. It really has everything. And then you add in the culture, the music, the artwork, the people, the history. And there really is no more exciting location for the Horizon Festival.
Now that we're in Mexico, what are some of the authentic elements that we can expect?
Si estuviese doblado solo la parte
Yeah,
esta,
totally.
estaría en
So,
latino.
we've got the largest and most diverse world we've
Es
ever
una
built.
broma,
And
es
as
una
I
broma.
mentioned just a moment ago, something that really excited us about Mexico is the culture. So we've worked with creatives from all across Mexico. We've had Mexican artists produce beautiful mural artwork that you'll find on the walls around the game. We've worked with Mexican music acts to produce original compositions for the game. We've worked with Mexican scriptwriters and actors so that all of those Mexican voices you hear in the game will sound really authentic. And perhaps not as obvious, but the other thing that is super authentic is all of our light data and skies. So we had a team out in Mexico with our 12K HDR sky capture rig. We captured more than 400 hours of sky data, and then
Dios.
we recreate that in game. So all of the light, the shadows, the color information, all of it is recreated.
Esto tiene que verse
based on real light
impresionante,
data
tío. Esto
captured
tiene que
from
verse.
Mexico. So
Jugándolo tiene que
everything you're
ser
seeing there is-
impresionante. O sea,
just
no
has that
tenéis
real
ni idea
authenticity, that
de cómo se
feeling
tiene que ver esto
of
jugándolo,
reality.
tío.
Now, we got a peek at Event Lab. Now, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Event
No,
Lab
no sé si ha puesto en
is
sí
a
el
really
director.
exciting,
No lo sé, no me he fijado en
new
el
suite
subtítulo
of
al
tools
principio.
that will allow people in the community to create whatever they can imagine.
No sé si es el
If we
director.
look at the video right now, all of this that we see has been built
Director
using
creativo.
that Event Lab
Vale,
tool
vale.
set. The bowling pins that have been placed. So someone's gone along, they've placed those, and then they've created rules that touch on them as well. So as we see, every time they're hitting them, a rule has been set up such that it gives players points. And then also in that clip, you can see that everyone else in that multiplayer session is hitting bowling pins as well, and all of that is adding into a collective team score. The rules could have easily been set up so that it wasn't a team score, that it was competitive. All of that creative freedom is open to players. It's as a game designer, I think it's the feature that I'm most excited about in Forza Horizon 5.
And I would say as a gamer, it's a feature I'm definitely excited about because this really is going to open up some unique features between me and my friends. Now, with the power of the Xbox Series X and the S, what are some of the new technical features that we can expect?
So in Forza Vista, we're really able to turn up everything, ramp everything on, turn on ray tracing, and we have the cars looking more realistic than they ever have before, unparalleled detail. But that detail, it does apply to the rest of the world as well. During the Xbox E3 showcase the other day, I mentioned we'd modeled the detail on everything, right down to the individual needles on the cholla cactus. That was just the plants that happened to be closest to the camera at that point. That level of detail is applied to everything that you see. And thanks to the power of the Xbox Series consoles, it's not just things that are right in front of the camera as well. We've really been able to push out all of the LODs and the draw distance and everything so that everything in the scene is full of that detail. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we capture that light data from Mexico, so you get this realistic lighting, shadows, AO, all of it comes together to create a scene that just looks real.
Now, Mike, when can the world expect to play Forza Horizon 5?
Sure. So we're launching this holiday on the Xbox Series consoles, the Xbox One consoles. We're on PC, on both the Windows 10 Store and Steam. Of course, we're in Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate.
Sinceramente, me parece
And
broma que
you can
Forza
play us
Horizon
on your
5
Android device with
vaya
Xbox
a
Cloud
salir en
Gaming.
Xbox One.
And players who purchase
Un
the Premium
hardware
Edition or
de
if
9
they're a Game Pass
años,
subscriber
me
and
parece
get the Premium
acojonante, tío.
add-ons bundle, you'll get early access as well, so you'll be able to play a little bit earlier than everybody else.
Now, Mike, this is a huge moment for you and the team. What does this mean to you?
Yeah, well, for me personally, I mean, I've been working on the Forza franchise for a really, really long time, but this is my first game as creative director. So in this period over the last few days and week or so, as people are seeing it for the first time, for me, it's probably been one of the most exciting experiences of my life. It's been absolutely incredible.
Again, Mike, thank you so much for
Va a
being
ser el
here.
Forza más exitoso,
Thank you
este.
so much for having me. It's been a
No me
pleasure.
cabe ninguna duda.
Later in the show, we'll be hearing from the developers behind games like Age of Empires 4, Shredders, and Grounded. But first, the team at
Pues,
Ninja Theory
no sé
has
si está
something to
confirmadas
share with
plataformas.
you.
Creo que no
Here's
tiene
to me,
plataformas
Chief
confirmadas,
Creative Ninja, to explain what they've been hard at work on for HELLBLADE 2.
Hombre, van a hablar de Hellblade 2.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our brand spanking new Ninja House in Cambridge. I wanted to give you an update on the work so far for Senua Saga HELLBLADE 2. What we're doing right now is building a good chunky slice of the game before we then move into full production to build out the rest. HELLBLADE was very special for us, and we didn't want to do a straight sequel. We wanted to do something extra special, and so we're making our lives as difficult as possible in that pursuit. The game is set in Iceland, 9th century Iceland, so we've been sending out
siglo
art
IX.
and audio teams out there, doing photography, photogrammetry, and combining it with satellite data to recreate large swathes of the landscape. On the character front, we're building real costumes, scanning them in, We're collaborating with Epic Games to bring you next generation digital characters.
Trabajando con
On the
Epic
combat
Games.
front, we want it to be extra real and brutal. And so Melina, our main actress, has been training for 2 years, and all of our animators have undergone combat training. And so what you're going to see here is not a trailer, it's not a gameplay reveal, but rather a montage of the kind of work we've been up to. Hope you
Ya,
like
pero
it.
que. Ya, coño, ya sé que usan el motor, pero que van a estar trabajando con Epic Games.
Will you follow me on this journey
¿Eso ha sido gameplay?
by sea, by land, and dreams?
¿Esa parte de Senua andando ha sido la actriz o ha sido un
Over
momento
the
in-game?
mountains of rage, to the depth of fear in my mind. You might see me as weak, but I will show you what lies behind my eyes. With our swords,
We will forge new stories to strike the gods that haunt us.
Está muy alto, ¿verdad?
We'll embrace our suffering,
Está bien.
soothe our scars of grief, and break their siege of our minds. They may see them as gods, but we
Eso es el juego, tío. Es que van juntando material in-game con real. Van juntando material in-game con real, tío. Dios. Y a veces es difícil saber cuándo es juego o no, tío. A ver si después con un poco de suerte lo suben después a 4K. También esto. Sí, parecían. Han habido un par de momentos que parecían gameplay, total. Esto está guapísimo, tío, esto de que se puedan personalizar los mandos. Desgraciadamente no pasa con los élites. Estaría bien que dejasen personalizar los élites, ¿eh? Habría gente que lo compraría. Te personalizas un élite y eso estaría guay.
And that is Xbox Design Lab. And here to tell us more about Xbox Design Lab is Naveen Kumar. Naveen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Paris.
So, what is Xbox Design Lab?
Design
Totalmente.
Lab is a controller
Bueno, yo ya
customization
esperaría el
service
3.
on Xbox.com, where you can choose nearly any color combination you want for your controller and really make it yours. You can design a controller based off your favorite video game character, your favorite sports team, or whatever inspires you. And you can think of Design Lab as your own personal design studio. Now, we've originally launched Design Lab 5 years ago.
Va a haber
and we've
GIFs
sold millions of
en
controllers to
Twitter,
fans
espero que
around the
va a haber
world.
GIFs
But then we had to take a pause
cortados
as
de
we
ahí.
brought up our latest generation of Xbox hardware. But now we're back offering
En 5
customization
minutos
of
hay
the latest
GIFs
generation
de esas
Xbox wireless
partes
controller.
en Twitter.
Now, we have so many awesome controllers here right now. Can you kind of talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, well, right off the bat, you can see there's tons of color options to choose from. For most of the parts on the controller, you can choose among 18 different colors for all the different pieces on the exterior. 3 of those colors are brand new to Design Lab. We have Shock Blue, Pulse Red, and my personal favorite, the Electric Volt color. Most of the colors include post-consumer recycled resins in them. So there's a portion of things that are ground up, like automotive headlights, recycled water bottle jugs, things that make the controller more eco-friendly. We also
Fíjate, el material de los
button
mandos
options
es de
for the
material
AVX
reciclado.
button set in the view menu share, including a really cool button option for AVXY.
Eso
that's
está muy
throwback to the
bien,
original
tío, los
Xbox 360
colores.
controller. So you gotta check
Eso
that
está
out.
muy bien,
And,
tío.
yeah, this is
Que
just
puedes
the
elegir
beginning. We're excited
los
to
colores de
introduce
los
more
botones.
customization options over time.
Now, 2 of these controllers were inspired by games. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so there's a blue and green and purple one that's inspired by Psychonauts 2. We just love the key art for that one, so we work with our partners to develop a controller to help bring that to life. And there's also one that's inspired by Grounded and the aphid character from that game. We had a lot of fun in designing that as well. As a controller kind of
Estos mandos, por ejemplo, lo que les faltan son los botones de colores, en mi opinión. Les faltan los colores de botones. Es que pienso que los colores de botones tienen que ser el estándar. Y no en grises o en negro, ¿sabéis? El estándar debía de ser en colores. Y luego ya que cada uno elija lo que quiera.
I designed the buttons kind of with the black accent along with the shoulders and the triggers. But I also did an inscription on it, and my inscription says, "Ka can't cook." And that is inspired by my good friend, Khalif Adams. He does a fantastic show called Spawn on Me, but he's a terrible cook.
Claro, tú puedes poner lo que te salga de los cojones como texto. Pensaba que automáticamente elegía tu gamertag. Puedes poner lo que quieras.
And to avoid it at all costs. But enough of terrible cooking. Let's talk about something that you designed.
Yeah, I designed this controller right in front of me here. Again, on my favorite color, this electric volt. I just love the way that the midnight blue accents pop against it, the dark ABXY colors. And this one's inspired by a pair of sneakers I have at home, so I had to make a controller based off that.
That's awesome. Now, one last thing. When can fans expect to start designing their own Xbox controllers?
They can start today by visiting xbox.com/Xbox Design Lab. There's tons of inspirations to choose from. Customization is really fun, and we're shipping controllers to US, Canada, and most Western European countries. And these make great gifts, whether it's for yourself or that special gamer in your life.
That is fantastic. Naveen, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Paris.
Later in the show, World's Edge will give us a deeper look at Age of Empires 4. But first, Tim Schafer is giving us a closer look at Psychonauts 2.
Hi everybody, I'm Tim Schafer from Double Fine Productions here today to take a deeper look into Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2 is an action-adventure game starring Rasputin Aquato.
De esta gente no me sé qué esperar. De esta gente solo me espero juegos raros. De esta gente, sinceramente. De los de Double Fine solo me espero juegos raros. Solo juegos super bizarros. De verdad, por esta gente.
His psyche into someone else's mind and see their mental landscape made real. He can help them wrestle with their inner demons and fight their actual nightmares in person. Which means that the levels in the game are actually brains. And Psychonauts 2 has even more brains than the first game. One of the first brains you'll get to visit is that of Count Dr. Lobato. Now, Dr. Lobato was actually a villain in the first game, but after Raz fought him, they kind of became friends. He actually has a piece of information that Raz wants, which is who kidnapped Truman Zanotto.
De hecho, es curioso que al final Double Fine haya llegado a ser comprado por Microsoft porque...
So Raz has to travel, along with Sasha, Mia, and Coach Oleander, into his mind and try to extract that information. And there's a lot of forces at work inside Lobato's mind, maybe put there by someone else, who are trying to stop you, including some of the enemies that you might recognize from the first Psychonauts game, including the censors, entities designed to stamp out thoughts that don't belong in someone's mind, including Raz, who doesn't belong here. But you also see a lot of new enemies, such as doubts and regrets. Lobato's mind is plagued with
solo
doubts
está
and
en
regrets,
inglés.
very dangerous for Raz. Did I mention there's a lot of teeth? Have I mentioned there's a lot of teeth? There's a lot of teeth. He's an amateur dentist. He doesn't know
Esto es un juego por
teeth, but
Kickstarter.
he really likes them. Luckily, to fight all these enemies, Raz
Es un juego que se financió por Kickstarter.
including his powerful psychic punch, where he has these hands that extend psychically from his body into a powerful melee combo. He also has his psychic blast, where he can shoot a powerful energy beam out of his brain. Raz also has the ability of pyrokinesis. It's always handy to be able to burn things with your mind. And levitation. Raz can use his own thoughts, his own thought bubble over his head as a balloon to float around or ride around on to get somewhere really quickly.
Se ve en plataformas muy clásico, ¿no? Se ve en plataformas muy clásico, ¿verdad?
Now, while Truman's been kidnapped, the person running the Psychonauts is Hollis Forsyth, the second head of the Psychonauts. Hollis is also the head of the intern program, which is what Raz has joined now that he's become part of the Psychonauts. And he is invited into Hollis's brain for instruction. Hollis is teaching him a new psychic ability called mental connection, where you can see two thoughts in someone's mind and connect them, sometimes creating new thoughts, making new things happen. While Raz is training in mental connection inside of Hollis's mental classroom, he experiments a little too far and accidentally, maybe slightly on purpose, creates a lot of interesting gambling inside of Hollis's mind because he wants to go on the mission to the Lady Luctopus Casino.
No sé si en PC tiene subtítulos. No sé si en PC tiene subtítulos, no lo sé seguro. Pero...
Raz has to go back into her mind where he finds out that her memories of medical school and where she studied neurology have been corrupted by this gambling.
Se tiene que ver muy guapo, ¿eh? Este juego se tiene que ver muy guapo, así de lo colorido que es. Se tiene que ver muy guapo, jugándolo, tío. Tiene que ver muy bien.
And she's gonna be really mad. Inside Hollis's mind, you'll see bigger, tougher sensors that have turned into bouncers inside the casino, and also a new enemy called Bad Idea. Bad Ideas spawn actual nasty-looking light bulbs over their head that become dangerously explosive and blow up in Raz's face. Now, headquarters. One of the things that happens in Psychonauts 2 that's most exciting to Raz is that he gets to visit the headquarters of the Psychonauts themselves, which is called the Mother Lobe. This is the center for all Psychonauts activity, and Raz gets to see his old friends Sasha and Mia, who were counselors at summer camp in the first game. He now gets to see where they work. He gets to see their offices, he gets to see their labs, he gets to see their co-workers, other agents in the field, but also he gets to see the admin and maintenance staff as they go about their business and hang out in the cafeteria, and sort of the everyday happenings of...
Se parece que en el juego va a haber un eje central y desde ahí vamos a poder acceder al resto de mundos.
Hidden pathways and treasures around the base that he can find. Side quests and scavenger hunts and things that you might recognize from the first game. There's a lot of characters to meet, a lot of fun things to discover, a lot of secrets about the Psychonauts themselves, and the lore of the founding of the Psychonauts, including the Psychic Six, who were seen on stumps around the campfire in the first game, but now we get to go much deeper into the story of how they played a part in the founding of the Psychonauts, how they were brought together and recruited by Ford Cruller and turned into this amazing international espionage force. One of the things that was so important about the first game was exploring this natural environment around the summer camp, all the little hidden paths and caves where Raz's adventures took place. And so in the second game, we've expanded on that. There's an even bigger natural environment.
Creo que este juego cambió de motor gráfico. Me suena. Me suena que este juego estaba trabajando con Unity y cambiaron a Unreal Engine. Igual me estoy confundiendo, pero es lo que me suena.
To explore, and next door to the quarry is an abandoned roadside attraction called the Questionable Area, a sort of power vortex of strange happenings, which is also caused by the titanium deposits in the area. Water flows uphill, animals behave strangely.
El agua va para atrás,
is dedicated to the mystery of the Sasclops, which is a giant one-eyed being that might have existed and might not have. Here in the questionable area, Raz's family is camped out, his entire family, as if to embarrass him in front of his new Psychonauts friends. His family has showed up and they want him back in the circus. It turns out some of his family members, including his own father, have a little bit of psychic power themselves, and they'll be exploring that in Psychonauts 2, and you'll get to find out who put this curse on Raz's family to die in water. The Aquados have been cursed by a mysterious character to all die in water, and this manifests itself in the form of the Hand of Galokio, which is this hand that comes out of the water, which is really just Raz's psychic construct.
Pues deberían, pero no sé si se limitarán. No sé si se limitarán a hablar de Sea of Thieves.
Creepy hand comes out and tries to grab him and pull him under, which is all happening inside of Raz's head. In Psychonauts 2, you'll get to find out who put this curse on Raz's family, where it came from, and what he can do about it. The story you uncover about the curse put on Raz's family links back into the story of the foundation of the Psychonauts, and Raz finds out that his family and the Psychonauts family
sí, ha enseñado un par de veces, un par de segundos lo que parecía gameplay.
For the player and Raz and his family and his friends as they explore the connections between his family and the Psychonauts and what it all has to do with Maligula.
Pero han ido ahí intercalándolo entre imágenes reales y tal. Pero parecían in-game. Son muelas, tío. Este sale muy poquito, ¿no? El 25 de agosto. Sale en nada, en un par de meses.
So I'll stop talking so you can go and do that. Thanks for watching.
Hello?
Van a hablar de Anakritus este. Este es un indie que salió. Este es un Left 4 Dead wannabe. Este es un Left 4 Dead wannabe.
this a disco? This I do not like.
I could use some help! Hit your pulse!
This is not good. This is not good.
What if we open the doors and run? Just run. No stopping, no shooting, just straight to the bridge.
Get that flasher!
Parece el símbolo de Atari, ¿eh?
Really? We call them
Parece el
tanks.
símbolo de Atari.
I call them brutes. From Latin, Brutus.
We'd sound smart calling them brutes.
Eon, you don't want to get in here and help name these?
Sí, ¿eh?
Nah, I'm good.
Brute!
The Anacrusis is looking like a game I didn't realize I needed in my life. And here, from Stray
Lo
Bombay,
necesitaba en
to
su
tell us
vida,
more
claro.
about the Anacrusis is Chet Felisek. Chet, thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, talk to me about this game, the Anacrusis. What's the concept? How did you come up with this?
So I grew up with late 60s, early 70s sci-fi. I love that stuff, right? Logan's Run,
Yes.
Battlestar Galactica, Space 1999. That wasn't cheesy to me or campy. That was just the way sci-fi
Yeah.
was. And so we wanted to set a game in that world, right? We have those cool colors, cool shapes, fantastical sci-fi weapons and creatures. And then it also lends itself to, we wanted something that was positive about the players, the characters, you're working together. Sure, there's aliens. Sure, you're fighting them. Sure, you're trying to save Earth. But you're doing it in a positive, uplifting way. Yeah, after the pandemic, I don't think I could go back to a dreary post-apocalyptic world. I need something uplifting, and so we wanted to deliver that.
That's awesome. Now, talk to me about the gameplay. You've said that
Es un
there's
FPS.
an infinite replayability to this. So how does that factor in?
Yeah, so there's 4-player co-op. You're playing with your friends, and what we want to do is make sure
Cooperativa con otros jugadores. No me lo había
a
imaginado.
lot of different systems that do that.
No me lo habría imaginado, la
but
verdad.
the idea of the AI driver. The AI
No lo
driver
sabía.
is driving everything that's happening in the game with items, where they're placed.
Si os fijáis, no tiene mira, ¿eh? No tiene punto de mira, ¿eh?
Perks, all of those systems are driven off of that. And so what that means is, as you're playing, not only do you have those, hey, this last time we played this, there was nothing here, and this time we're being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then you also have those peaks and valleys so that you have some downtime, and then you have some really big uptime in it, or a lot of combat happening in it. We're also monitoring how the people are playing. So if you're first time playing and your team isn't doing very well, we'll put health kits right on the main path for you to find. And then if you don't find them at first, we'll spawn a couple more later. But if you're really good, if you're really killing it, well, we might not put anything on the main path. And so if you want to go find your perks or if you want to go find new weapons, you have to go off that main path and go search for that. And it makes the game just a little bit harder, but in a way more interesting way than just saying, hey, let's double the health of all the enemies.
Right.
And then we do something we actually look from session to session as well. So if you play with the same 3 friends every week, and you guys have been killing it for 10 weeks in a row, well, let's mix it up for you. Let's just throw something crazy at you that you've never seen before, and 1 million aliens. And we can do that because normally when you do difficulty, you've got to be here because you don't know
La
what happened
dificultad
before or
varía,
after. But here,
la dificultad varía según lo bien que juegues o algo así. Me está dando la impresión de
I love that
que
it's
es, ¿eh?
scaling to your basically your skill.
de forma
level,
automática.
Right? So yeah, that's fantastic. Now, kind of deeper dive more into the perk system that you're going to have in the game.
So for the perks, we looked at a lot of games where you start with, let's say, a class-based thing. And then, if you're playing with your same friends, well, I'm going to be support, you're going to be carry,
Sí.
someone else will be help. Like, we kind of get into a rut of what systems we're playing and how we're playing. And so we want to be able to mix that up so that every time you're playing, you're also kind of choosing your role based on the perks you're getting. So perks come in this thing called a meta compiler. And you have to go find the meta compilers in the world. And once you find one, you'll have from 1 to 3 perks to choose from. And then over time, you're essentially building a deck for your character. And so you might have it where, if you saw in the trailer, there's a pulse, which is kind of like a melee shove. Well, you can invest into that.
Sí, vamos, eso es lo típico, ¿no? Que cada personaje tendrá sus habilidades.
Faster, and now it protects your other players around you. And then it gets more powerful, and you can actually do damage with it. So all of a sudden, you went from being a support character playing in the back to leading the charge going forward and knocking down aliens and everyone else blasting them. Or you'll get a bunch of perks that are about investing in one weapon and making it where when you do headshots, it actually does damage to other aliens around. So now you're the sniper hanging
Si soy sincero, este juego no me interesa.
So it's really mixing up that kind of experience that you're having. And you'll
No os
earn
voy a
these
engañar.
perks as you play. So the more you play, the more perks you have. But since we want the game to always be great to play with your friends,
if you've been playing, let's say you play with me. I've been playing 400 hours. You're brand new.
400.
Well, we share
Vale, es un
perks.
ejemplo, vale.
So you get all the perks that I have available to me as well. So that way you get to have that experience of all that craziness in your game as well. Because it's all about having fun with your friends.
Right, the shared experience with your friends. Now, we kind of already talked about the inspirations, like
¿Qué esperas, tío? Es lo que iba a ser.
It was the first thing I thought of. But let's talk more about the enemies in the game. What was some of the inspirations for that?
So the enemies is we kind of look at it
Pero
of
que
how
dejen
we want
paso a estudios de verdad.
as well as feel. And so we bring in outside playtesters every week. They play our game, we watch them, and what we'd see is really good teams would stick together really tightly. And even if we send something like the Brood at them that spreads them apart, they'd quickly form back together. So we created something called the spawner. And this is just a good example of kind of how we approach the design. The spawner you hear off in the distance, and you'll hear it, and you know what it's doing. It's spawning things. It spawns these little turrets that come at you. They're not the worst thing, but they're going to be unrelenting until you kill the spawner. And so you'll be sticking with your team, and you'll be like, oh, wait a minute. If the spawner comes now, and this turrets come, and we've got a guy down, we've got to go over there, I'm not sticking with my team. I'm going to go hunt that thing down. I'm going to go kill it. So you go run off, you kill it, you're feeling good about it, and then all of a sudden you realize, wait, where are my teammates? I'm all alone. There's other specials here. Oh, I'm in trouble. And it's trying to create those kind of moments where it's mixing it up, where you always want to have it where it kind of almost takes turns of one player.
Diría que no con todo prácticamente nada que no tenga cualquier cooperativo.
Diría,
de este estilo.
And so really looking at having those enemies give you those moments for how it affects the players.
Bonus question for you. What does the anacrusis actually mean?
So anacrusis is a musical term. It means the notes before the song, the little kind of intro. And for this, we have a character, Boris, that you never meet. And all the players just talk about it because I thought it was fun to have this character that you never really are sure who they are because it's everyone else describing it. And she named the barge that you're on, that you're launching these missions, the Anacrusis. And her thought there was, this is not the main event. This is not us against the aliens with fighter pilots and everything else. This is just regular people. This is the pre-battle to the battle. This is finding out about these aliens and what just happened.
Los alienes.
That sounds so cool. Again, the Anacrusis, everything that you talked about today, it sounds amazing. I can't wait to get my hands on it. But Chet, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We've got so much more coming in today's show, including Obsidian Entertainment with Grounded, iLlusions and Let It Roll with Shredders, and 343 Industries with a deeper dive on that incredible multiplayer trailer for Halo Infinite. But first, the original Stalker was one of the most intense and eerie games of its era. Next year, we return to Chernobyl for Stalker 2. And Zach from GSC Game World has a closer look at the game. Let's check it out.
Mira, para mostrar más de...
Hi everyone, it's Zach from GSC Game World. It has been several days since the gameplay reveal of Stalker 2. Our game now has a subtitle, Heart of Chernobyl, and a release date of April 28, 2022. By the way, the pre-orders are opened for both PC and Xbox. You're obviously here willing to learn more, so here are several details about Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl you probably didn't know yet. So let's dive a little bit deeper in our trailer. This section of the trailer is a bandit's gunfight on the chemical plant. You can see the actual in-game animations of picking up the weapons and installing modifications on the go. The thing is, you can notice the teaser of a new faction. We are not showing the exact moment right now because we wonder if you can discover it yourself. You may actually recognize the exact location on the swamps. If you played Stalker Clear Sky, you may remember this place. The time did the job, but the tower is
tiene lugar en el mismo
still
sitio,
there.
entonces.
Also,
Tiene lugar en
in
el
this scene,
mismo
you
sitio.
can see a
O sea,
brand new
habrá
detector
zonas que son
Steve is
exactamente
using
las
for the
mismas.
artifact hunt. Because of its form, it's called Gilka, which actually means a branch in the Ukrainian. The artifact Skiff is going to collect is called Jelly. In-game, it recovers your stamina. Moving to the Dancing Man scene. Before you ask it, yes, there will be a lot of characters with an interesting fate in the zone. His hideout is located in Chernobyl too. That's a town not so far from Pripyat you have seen in the gameplay teaser.
¡Lol! ¿Habéis visto cómo se mueven las tablas? Se ha movido la tabla.
The campfires. A small isle of safety in the unwelcoming zone. A place where you can finally have a little rest before another foray. You have seen the campfire during the first trailer in the Rookie Village. Of course, it wasn't the only one.
Mira, hogueras como en Dark Souls. Madre mía.
The zone is full of dangers and mutants. The monsters are the result of the numerous experiments. We're not ready to show you all of them, so let's stick to the old good bloodsucker for now.
Los chupasangre, Bloodsucker.
Считаешь, я не думал, как обойтись без его смерти?
Tío, se ve muy guapo este juego también, tío. Me sorprende un montón la calidad de los diseños, Y no estamos hablando de un first party de Microsoft,
Я буду защищать ее. Всегда.
In this rooftop
Joder.
scene, we are truly proud with the quality of the animations.
Sí, yo siempre
We made
escuché de
a small
Stalker cosas
behind-the-scenes video
buenas.
from our motion capture studio.
Pero joder.
The face photogrammetry process makes the final result as close to the reality as possible.
Она не могла быть свободна, пока он жил. Я буду защищать ее. Всегда.
Secta.
The Gauss gun you're seeing in this section is one of the most powerful weapons from the arsenal.
Buah, esa parte es brutal. La parte de la electricidad es brutal.
Похоже, пора. И куда ты теперь? В Припять.
Moving to the final thing for today, the man at the end of the trailer is Sergei Grigorovich, the creator of the Stalker series.
Удачной охоты, Сталкер.
Thanks for joining
¿Cómo?
us today.
¿Cómo ha dicho?
We can't
Ha
wait
dicho
for
que el
the
diseño de
moment when the time
ese
comes to
hombre
enter the
es el
zone
creador
on
de
April 28,
¿De Stalker? ¿Ha dicho eso?
As you just saw, Stalker 2 is shaping up to be something special, and I can't wait to play it next year when it comes to Xbox, PC, and Game Pass on day one. On Sunday, we saw the trailer for A Plague Tale Requiem.
Dios, que juegos así se estrenan el lanzamiento en Game Pass de verdad, o sea, no...
And for those of you who are fans of the original, we've got some good news for you too.
Amicia, I want to see mommy.
Where is he?
Totalmente. O sea, no tiene sentido. No tiene sentido lo de Game Pass. Hombre, optimizado para Series X y Series S. Acaban de anunciarlo. Parche para Series X y S. De la primera parte. 4K y 60 FPS.
We call this odorous.
Where is your son?
De puta madre, tío.
You have come to challenge me.
A ver.
If history was in your hands, what would you build?
Y Age of Empires sale pronto, Al final va a salir, bueno, pronto. Ya. La verdad.
From World's Edge. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us on, Paris.
Oh, absolutely. my legacy, Age player, I'm excited for this. Now, you had some news at the briefing. Can you kind of talk about that a little more?
Well, I mean, fans got to have their first looks
Sí,
at
sí, sí,
two
sale en
more of our
Xbox.
launch civilizations,
Ya
the
llegará.
Abbasid Dynasty and the French.
Yes.
And they bring a lot to the table, totally different ways to play. But I'm really excited to show them those. And then also, people got to see their first taste of naval gameplay, which we haven't shown off at all, except for a little teaser at the end of fan preview.
Paying off that tease. And we also revealed one more of our campaigns, the 100 Years' War, and Joan of Arc made an appearance. We also announced that the game is coming October 28th, and it's coming to Windows Store, Steam, and of course, Game Pass for PC.
Yo lo que haría es lanzarlo en PC, lanzarlo en Xbox, y como es compatible con ratón y teclado, quien quiera jugarlo en Xbox con ratón y teclado, que lo juegue. Y ya más adelante lanzan una actualización para que se pueda jugar con mando. Lo adaptan. Eso es lo que creo que haría yo.
In that they construct this bastion of knowledge called the House of Wisdom, and they can keep upgrading it with different wings, and that gives them a host of incredible technologies that leverage their army, their economy, their resources. But beyond even that, they have an incredible amount of fun units, especially camels, unique to the Civs again. The launch civs for Age of Empires 4 is camel.
¿Cuántos años llevan ya sin lanzar un Age of Empires? ¿Cuál es el último? ¿El Age of Empires 3 de cuándo es? ¿De qué año es? 2000, 2000 qué? 2007, 2004, 2003.
And the French are really, really strong with trade. They've got some great options that are going to make your late game really, really interesting. They have a landmark called the House of Commerce. And for your units, you're going to really want to focus on knights and lances, those are your powerhouses. But the French actually made an appearance in the trailer as part of the 100 Years' War campaign. And as you can see, Joan there, I'm actually wearing her around my neck. She's a feminist icon from history. This young woman who led with her convictions and led a battle, and she was a teenager. And so she's beloved. She's in Age 2 in a campaign, and so we know Age fans are going to love seeing her again. And the 100 Years' War, with the multiple missions, like the Battle of the 30, are really going to bring that period
2005, bueno, por un año no te preocupes. Por un año tampoco.
That's all from within the game. We have these multiple documentaries that will play between the missions to storytell and really bring it to life as you journey through the 100 Years' War.
Yeah, taking a completely different approach to how we're telling a story in... Matter of fact, I don't think I've seen any game that does what we're doing.
Puedes vivir. Sí, sí, no te preocupes. Si llegan a ser 2 años, eso ya habría sido distinto, ¿eh? Pero un año no pasa nada.
Now, community feedback is always important in any game, but especially in something
Yo tengo que darle una oportunidad a Age of Empires. Tengo que jugar, no sé si jugar al 1, al 2 o al 3, o jugar directamente el 4. Pero tengo que probarlo. Nunca lo he probado, jamás. Nunca he jugado a un Age of Empires.
System that's built into Age 4. They really helped us with their viewpoints make the game better. And one thing they really pushed for actually was naval.
Yeah, it's amazing. We actually, you know, if you
es verdad, es la novedad de este Age of Empires, ¿no? Batallas navales. Una de las novedades, o al menos supongo de las más importantes.
Which is crazy, right? But if it wasn't there, people would miss it so much. And sometimes we have to ask those hard questions when we're making games, right? We say like, do we need to do this?
Que hagan un evento. Esto deberían de hacer a los 5 meses o 6 meses ahí. Hacer un evento colaborativo. Tal vez un evento colaborativo con Sea of Thieves o algo así.
It was great. It was a great reaffirmation, and we throw a lot of things like that at our council to make sure that we're making the game that's great for all the different kinds of players that love Age of Empires all over the world.
And now we're heading towards launch. We're branching out beyond our council. People are going to get hands-on for the first time. So we had a fan preview event back in April, and we looked at the feedback from that and have made changes since then. So, you know, you let us know that you didn't feel like
el evento de presentación de Age of Empires 4 fue brutal. Porque estuvo doblado el evento, fue brutal, estuvo súper currado. Estuvo doblado en español, la verdad es que fue súper currado, tío.
Well, we have a new expansion coming in August for Age 2 Definitive Edition called Dawn of the Dukes.
Moló un montón ese detalle.
We're going to be adding 2 more civilizations, the Bohemians,
y es una expansión nueva. Ahora es nueva. Para Age of Empires 2.
And those are great stories about really cool, like, brother and sister teams that work together to kind of rise up these empires, and I can't wait for people to get their hands on it. And the great thing is that if you pre-order Age of Empires 4, you get that for free.
Es brutal el soporte que da Microsoft a un montón de cosas, ¿eh? También he visto esta mañana que han lanzado han actualizado Gears 3 esta mañana.
We're hard at work on an African PDLC with new civilizations and campaigns, and I can't wait to show more. But we're not ready to talk about that one just yet.
Mola, tío. O sea, me alegro que trabajen en la comunidad, tío.
Yeah. Now, shifting us back to the present in Age 4, what's some of the things people can expect as we lead up to launch?
Well, we've got a bit of an exclusive for you today.
Un nuevo detalle, a ver.
We're going to name our remaining
nuevas
launch and our remaining
civilizaciones.
launch campaigns. We're not going to show them just yet. That'll come closer to launch. But our 2 remaining civilizations are the Holy Roman Empire and the Rus. And the names of our 2 remaining campaigns are the Rise of Moscow and the Mongol Empire.
All that sounds fantastic. Please.
No, I was just going to say I'm so excited. I get all gushing about things like this. You're going to have to wait a little more to get information and see more detail on those civilizations and campaigns, but we've also got a ton of stuff planned. We have a beta that's going to be coming up, so you can go to ageofempires.com to sign up be an insider to get in our beta and get a chance to actually get hands-on with the game. And then, of course, again, we're launching October 28th. Yep.
How long to wait?
On Steam, on Windows.
Yo tengo en cartera probarlo, aunque sea. Probar alguno Age of Empires o el 4 directamente. Pero al menos probarlo, aunque no me guste. Yo doy por eso que no me va a gustar porque no me gusta, ¿no? Pero igual yo qué sé, igual me sorprendo. Me vuelvo un super...
Across land, air, and sea have been a hallmark of the Battlefield series from the beginning. In this next video, design director Daniel Berlin will tell us more about what DICE can do when it brings all-out warfare to the world's most powerful console.
Sí, pero a vosotros os gustan. A vosotros os gustan. A mí este estilo de juego, el género de la estrategia no me gusta.
The thing that would really excite players is the introduction of all this cutting-edge technology that we're just infusing into the sandbox. I think
Y no sé yo esto de Battlefield, la verdad. No sé hasta qué punto lo van a hacer bien. El juego tiene muy buena pinta, pero que no vaya a tener el Battle Royale de lanzamiento, que no tenga campaña, y aún así lo vendes a precio de juego normal. No sé yo, tío. Es algo que no sé si puede serles un problema.
War setting and being able to say like, hey, there's a problem over there, go solve it, and the players actually choose how they want to solve that problem, and through that process create their own battlefield moments.
Sí, pero el COD trae campaña también. Supongo, trae campaña y el Battle Royale es gratuito. Sí, bueno, esto no es el Battle Royale, ¿no? Este es el modo multijugador tradicional. Pero tiene una pinta brutal, tío. Tiene una pinta guapísima, tío. Tiene pintaza.
Two separate experiences within the all-out warfare experience, and that's Conquest, which is very much a staple for our franchise. It's something that our fans know and love, and we're just taking the Conquest experience to the max this time around. Conquest is all about the freedom, the access to the sandbox, being able to choose where you fight, how you fight, where you want to go.
Mira,
but it's also an experience that will allow players to kind of choose their own pacing. And there's moments in Conquest where it's complete chaos, when a lot of players they just converge on a single point and the chaos goes up to the maximum. But there's also moments within Conquest where, you've just had that big battle. And now you've won that battle, and you go like, okay, you bring up your map and you have a conversation with your friends, and you say like, okay, where do we want to go next? Oh, we need to go over there to that state. Okay, how do we get there? Oh, let's call in a vehicle. And a vehicle, you can call it in wherever you want. And then your friends, you hop into the transport vehicle and you go across the map and you go to a new location where there's a new fight. So Conquest is just that full freedom to the sandbox. And right next to that lives the other experience within All Out Warfare, which is Breakthrough. And this is a significantly more guided experience. It takes you on a journey throughout the entire map. And in Breakthrough, there's an attacker and there's a defender.
Asalto es un modo más tradicional, ¿no? Es un modo más team deathmatch. Asesino por equipos y para adelante. Es más.
Time to action is short, and the level of chaos is really, really high. There's helicopters and there's tanks and there's infantry. There's just everything happening, and it's just complete chaos in Breakthrough. So All Out Warfare kind of takes these two fan favorite staple modes, and we make them distinctly lean into their specific strength. And that's on the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, you will actually be able to play All Out Warfare experiences up to 128 players, which is a double to what we've done in the past in the franchise. And this is really, you know, you can have those moments when you're playing 2042, when you're sitting in a helicopter and you look down and you just see this, you know, sea of tanks,
Tiene que verse brutal, en serio, Tiene que verse impresionante.
Helicopters, fighter jets just moving in unison, and you kind of get this feeling that you're part of something
Tiene que verse
bigger,
impresionante.
like a really, really massive army. And that's the strength of the massive play spaces that we're building. And to be able to really make this play really well, we've altered our way of handling level design. Because it wasn't just as simple as, you know, just making it bigger and then portion the locations out. It doesn't really work that way. So we've leaned into a new type of design mentality that we're calling clustering. Now, what clustering means that you will have a massive battlefield in front of you. But within this massive battlefield, you will have particular clusters of objectives. So the map Hourglass is set in Doha, Qatar, and it is, I'm not going to go into any specifics about exactly how large it is, but it is definitely one of the larger maps that we will have in 2042. It's one of my favorite maps personally because it has some really, really cool, distinct locations within it. Down to the south of the map, you'll have a
Una aldea destructible.
fully destructible village.
Una
This is a
aldea
great
completamente
space for
destructible.
infantry and vehicles alike, because you know as a battlefield player that infantry is skulking around inside the buildings, but you know when you're in your tank or your attack helicopter, you can just can destroy those buildings and get access to the infantry. And you can go further east and you'll find a bunch of high rises, skyscrapers. And so there's a whole section there where you can enter the skyscrapers, you can go up to the top of them, you can zip line between the roofs.
Qué guay, tío.
Fights in
Tiene
between
que ser muy
rooftops.
épico, ¿eh?
But if you want to change it up even more, you can basically skydive off of the skyscrapers. And if you're playing a particular specialist that has access to a wingsuit, you can actually glide across the entire
Hostia, te equivocas y te das con las hélices del helicóptero y a tomar por culo.
And the stadium itself, it's a place you go when you really want to just take out your shotgun and have some close quarters combat. So the mentality here of building larger maps but creating locations within that map where there's a particular type of gameplay. And with the Conquest game mode, for example, you will also see the fact that if you want to capture the entirety of the stadium, it's not just to go there and capture one location. You actually have to capture multiple locations within the stadium in order for you to kind of to consider it yours, that your team can actually get benefits from it. So lots of dynamic moments on Hourglass. And if you saw in the gameplay trailer as well, there's a massive wall of sand moving across the entire gameplay space. So what happens when this massive wall comes, of course it engulfs you in the storm itself. But as it passes by, it leaves the entirety of the map in a different mood, in a different light, and it changes the visibility for the player.
Luchas dentro de la tormenta de arena, tío. Eso tiene que volar un montón, ¿eh? Tiene que volar un montón. Cuando la tormenta de arena llega totalmente, llena totalmente la ciudad, tiene que volar esa parte. Y el tornado es una pasada. El tornado es una pasada. El tornado es brutal. El tornado se ve que te cagas. In-game. El tornado que se ve brutal.
It's a massive moving physical entity that will pick you up, throw you across the map, pull helicopters into it. It's just a crazy, fun physics experience that happens as you play the map. So everything is in the hands of the player. This really is a sandbox. And these moments are in the hands of the player. While in other games, the battlefield moments are pre-scripted, in our game, they just happen. And they happen differently every single time because it's players controlling what's happening around you. That's something that you only get in Battlefield. And that's why I love Battlefield so much.
A mí me dan ganas de jugarlo, pero claro, es que me da eso de gastarme 60 euros y entonces jugar un poco y después dejarlo.
During the showcase on Sunday, we announced an exciting collaboration between Rare, Xbox, and Disney with Sea of Thieves, A Pirate's Life, a free update which brings
Sí, en principio supongo que sí, claro, al tener el EA Play sí. Supongo que estarán un mínimo de horas, claro. Cierto. Pues si está, lo probaré.
For this all new adventure. I can't wait to be a part of this crew. Let's take a look.
You will always remember this is the day your crew was joined by Captain Jack Sparrow.
Vale, esto es nuevo contenido, o es el mismo tráiler.
Quick as you like. Chop, chop.
It's time to bridge the worlds and take our rightful places as lords of the sea.
Es nuevo, es un tráiler nuevo, ¿verdad? Sí, ¿verdad?
Perhaps they'll take me on the grand tour of me fallen kingdom.
I was starting to think you'd taken a tumble. Not everyone's as steady on their feet as I am. This is the first place I've found where everyone appreciates my uniqueness. They're coming aboard.
Dios, es que, o sea, apariencias como los de Davy Jones, como la tripulación de Davy Jones.
Davy Jones wishes you destroyed, and I shall oblige him.
What is that infernal noise?
It's Captain Infernal Noise to you, mate.
Sparrow!
Oh, qué
Destroy that
guapo.
statue, and there'll be the double to pay.
Enough of this. Hear me, my daughter. Come more than me.
¡Hombre! Han puesto cara al Kraken.
Whatever they've told you, it's not true.
Han puesto cabeza al
Unless
Kraken.
it's flattering, in which case it's all true, but they left out the best bits.
No tiene cabeza antes. Que yo sepa.
Hey everyone, Joni, executive producer on Sea of Thieves here. So we've shown you the cinematic trailer, we've shown the gameplay trailer, but there's still more to come. So on Sunday at 11 AM Pacific, 2 PM Eastern, 7 PM UK and 8 PM in Europe, we have the Sea of Thieves A Pirate's Life showcase.
Vale, van a enseñar, en un directo van a enseñar todos los detalles de la expansión esta.
Jack Sparrow into our world, how do we capture his humor and his charm and all of the kind of characters that are coming in as a part of this. You're going to get a first look at a couple of tales and actual gameplay of those. We're going to get some behind the scenes interviews with our development team and also just to chat with us and with Disney just about how this collaboration came to be. So it's going to be
¿Cómo surgió? Vaya, ¿cómo surgiría? ¿Cómo, ¿Quién iba a pensar? ¿Quién iba a pensar cómo juntar Sea of Thieves con Piratas del Caribe si no se parecen en nada? Quiero que nadie había pensado eso. A nadie se le había ocurrido. Esto es el Rey León. Hakuna Matata. Pues deberían hacer un remake del juego del Rey León de la Super Nintendo, Buah, este juego se ve... O sea, no tiene puto sentido cómo se ve esto. No tiene sentido cómo se ve el puto Flight Simulator. Dios. Parece real, chaval. Parece real. Y aparte los trailers son súper bonitos, Los trailers los hacen súper bonitos. Sí, capturado en Xbox, sí. Tengo que ver Top Gun, tío. No la he visto. Es un puto clásico y no la he visto, macho. Tengo que verla antes de la secuela, claro.
I'm ready for the danger zone. But we'll get to that in just a second. When Microsoft Flight Simulator launched last year on PC, reviewers and gamers alike were blown away by the stunning visuals and the depth of simulation. Joining us is Jörg Newman, the head of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Jörg, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Good to meet you. Those are cool glasses. You get your jacket.
Yeah, I got my jacket as well.
Es un guiño, ¿no? Es un guiño. Las gafas es un guiño a Top Gun, ¿no?
Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, it was super cool. We announced that Microsoft Flight Simulator is coming to Xbox Series X and S. And the franchise has an awesome history on the PC. It's going back all the way to 1982. You know, it predates Office and Windows. And when we launched last year, it was on the PC only. And it was a really warm welcome from simmers and from press and from people who have never flown flight sim before. So we're super excited that it comes to console now. And so for the first time in
Pues eso iba a decir, por primera vez en la historia llega a consola Flight Simulator.
I've been playing Flight Simulator since last year on PC. I have a 3080, but it is now coming to the Xbox Series X and S. What sorcery are you doing to get this running on both of those consoles? I have to know.
I think it's a combination of two things, really. First off, it's a super powerful console.
Yes.
And then we are really using the Microsoft tech stack in an interesting way. So as you know, Series X and S is like a beast. The GPU is awesome, super powerful CPU with multiple cores, RAM, fast RAM. We can run in 4K. That's super important for planes because you sit there in the cockpit, you need to be able to read all the text. SSD, fast internet. So it's basically the equivalent of a really powerful high-end PC. And on top of that, on Flight Sim, we're using the Microsoft stack a lot. Like we have 2.5 petabyte of data. It's 1.6 million CDs sitting on Azure. And we're basically streaming that down as you go. And we also do machine
Pues que hayan hecho, porque tengo entendido que hace falta un pepinaco para mover esto.
In runtime, 1.5 billion houses and 2 trillion trees. So it's a combination of those two things. Super powerful console, super good use of the
Y el poder de la nube, ¿no?
You get it to work on console.
That is fantastic. Now,
The power of the cloud.
Game Pass, and with it coming to console, you're going to expose Flight Simulator to a lot of new gamers, right? So what are some of the things that you're going to do to make it more accessible to a wider audience?
So we had, you're exactly right. We had a little
Sí, a ver
bit
cómo
of
lo
that last year
adapta.
when we launched because we knew the flight simmers, that's their hobby. They came in, they know everything about aviation, they know exactly what to do. But we had a lot of people come in through Xbox Game Pass on PC and basically tried for the first time. So even on the PC launch, we did a bunch of work on onboarding with tutorials. We gave some assistances, but now for this Xbox version, we're actually doing a ton more.
Es una broma.
I actually brought you a little video. And so there's 5 things we did. The first thing, if you're becoming a pilot, the first thing you do is you do a discovery flight. It's basically, you know, you have a flight instructor next to you. He does most of the work, he or she. And you get to steer the plane and feel really good about yourself, right? And so we said, we need to recreate that. So we picked 10 places on Earth, like some of the most compelling places, like Mount Everest, or Rio de Janeiro, or New York,
Rio de
or the
Janeiro.
pyramids. And we basically put you in a plane, it's ready to go, it's beautiful weather, and all you need to do is fly and have fun. And it really is an onboarding experience, is super good. And then we noticed on the PC side that people really love to explore the world in Flight Sim. I did that. I've spent like a month in South America, and I've never been to South
Esto,
America.
tío,
and it was
tiene
super
que...
cool.
Esto
But
seguro que
it was
llega
only
a
visuals,
universidades, el
and,
Flight Simulator.
you know, so you didn't quite understand how everything fits together. So now we added labels, and Bing has all these labels basically for every POI, like famous place or river or mountain. So we have all those now, and we put that into the world map. And even if you go down and you try to plan out your flight, you can now see all the cities around you, and it's totally transforms the experience. Same in game. So we now have labels in game where you see here's Everett. Over there is, whatever, and you learn about the planet more, and it's a much more enriching experience, just experiencing the planet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The next thing we did is we revamped the tutorials. We wanted to basically smoothen out the onboarding experience. We wanted to retain knowledge more. So we have 8 tutorials on the PC. Now we have 22, and they're shorter. They're much more focused, and we have a performance indicator system. So basically, it rates you and how you did, and you get a score. And honestly, I can speak for myself. Like, I'm totally motivated to get better and better and better. And with that, you learn more.
Hay como una especie de tutorial también para que te vaya guiando.
It's been super successful, and I think it's going to help newcomers a lot. The next feature that we have it's called Flight Assistant, which I use a lot.
Mira, Dios, la pantalla de cómo llueve, tío, una lluvia.
Just look at the landscape,
Wow.
look at the city, but eventually you want to go to Brooklyn Bridge. So on the flight instructor, you can now, flight assistants, you can now click on, go to Brooklyn Bridge, and the AI, almost like a co-pilot next to you, will fly you to the Brooklyn
Volar
Bridge.
automáticamente, puedes dejarlo en piloto automático.
Same with airports, which are sometimes challenging for people. Like, you can click on the airport and say, please land me at, say, Newark Airport. And then the last thing is, if you really get yourself in trouble, like you stall out the plane or something like that, you can actually now click into, you can now go and basically say recover. And it's almost like the pilot is sitting next to you. Super helpful. I think that people will love it. And the last thing was, we learned that everybody is good taking off, but some people are hesitant to land, specifically when you look at like big international airports and they seem scary and you need to talk to the air traffic controller and all that, super technical. So we added a new feature called Land Anywhere.
Molaría que añadieran un modo...
Let them land anywhere. And then when you do that, the first thing you see
yo qué sé cómo
is
decirlo.
71% of the planet is water. So we added basically floats to a bunch of our
Un
planes.
modo como de prueba que puedes, un modo PvP, que añadiesen aviones de combate y puedes jugar, yo qué sé, 6 contra 6 o algo así. Un modo concreto, especial, como prueba.
Easier for people who have never been in a flight sim, because it's, we made a decision not to dumb down the flight sim. It's not easier. It's not gamified. Like we gave assistances to help you learn how to actually fly a plane. I think we're going to achieve that.
So one thing on PC is there's a ton of flight accessories that you can use as far as various peripherals and controls. What are you going to be able to bring to the console that can somewhat replicate that experience?
Totally, yeah. So a good news story. So there's 2 really good flight sticks already on the console.
Hay 2 sticks compatibles con Xbox. Quien quiera usar un joystick
and then there's also the whole
para el
flight
juego.
stick. And so we fully support those 2. And then we worked with all the main top-notch peripheral makers, both on PC and Xbox. And all I can say is there are going to be some really good announcements coming
pronto se anunciarán
up.
cosas
And for
nuevas.
Core Sim, I can say you can now play. We have the software to have a full Core Sim experience, and we'll have the hardware on Xbox. All for the first time on a console. It's going to be great.
Oh, that's going to be great. Now, we obviously had the funny start with the Top Gun Maverick expansion pack. You announced that, but can you go into a little more detail about that?
Yeah, I mean,
you can expect.
We couldn't be more excited, right? Like, I mean, it's really like a dream come true. If you think about entertainment and the franchises that celebrate aviation, you will actually come to Microsoft Flight Simulator and Top Gun, and it's a perfect marriage. So I can't say that much about it because the movie obviously is, keeps everything under wraps. But if you watch the trailer carefully, you saw there's some F/A-18s, and there's an aircraft carrier. There might be another plane. And then I can say is we're going to go fast, like really fast, and we're going to be in the danger zone with this one.
That is going to be great. Really looking forward to that. Now, as we wrap this up, there's not much else you can say about the Maverick expansion pack, but what else can people expect from Flight Simulator in the near future?
A lot. So ever since launch, we said we're going to launch and have a new update, like a big, meaningful update every single month. And we launched 9 months ago, and we had 9 updates.
Fíjate, van a una actualización mensual.
We just pick a zone on Earth, like the United States or Japan or like England and Ireland, and we make that really better. Like we get the the best possible satellite imagery. We create an elevation map that basically makes the mountains look better. We create 3D cities. Like after launch, we launched London and Paris, and we also make missions. So we celebrate the planet, like with these updates. And we're just going to go around the planet. We're shipping 2 more this year and 6 more next year. And then We also have something called sim updates, simulation updates, where we work with the manufacturers of planes, with the flight sim community out there that knows tons about everything, and also with real-world pilots. And we're basically making the sim better and better. The goal is to make the ultimate sim. Yeah. It's the perfect thing, totally authentic. And then on top of that, you should expect the unexpected. Just like with Maverick, which I don't think people really saw coming, there will be more of that. And I think all I can say is it'll get the gamers and the simmers both their hearts pounding. So keep watching the skies.
That is
O
awesome.
sea que van a hacer más cosillas, aparte de lo de la colaboración con Top Gun.
I've been playing it on PC. I love it. I highly recommend everyone do the flight from LA to Paris. It's really good, very cathartic. But as we get out of here, I want to thank you so much for taking some time to talk about Flight Simulator. Can't wait for that expansion pack.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
Thank you. Still to come, we have Grounded, Shredders, and of course, Halo Infinite. But
Halo
first,
Infinite.
one of the best PC games of 2020 was Hades, and it's got a ton of awards to prove it. Here's a closer look at what we can
Me gusta mucho el arte de
from
Hades.
Supergiant
Me gusta mucho el arte de
later
Hades.
this year
Se llevó el
on
año pasado,
Xbox
se llevó
Series X and S.
We just announced that Hades,
Se llevó el juego a mejor
dungeon crawler, is coming
a
soon
mejor
to
juego de
Xbox,
acción.
and I want to introduce you to some of the gods, ghosts, and monsters you'll meet in our rendition of the ancient Greek underworld. You don't need any prior interest in Greek myth to get into Hades, but as you play, maybe you'll get to wondering how much of this stuff comes from mythology. The answer is a whole lot. Greek myth is filled with wild, fascinating, often contradictory stories of these larger-than-life characters. The Olympians are a big, complicated family, always bickering and always pushing each other, and their portrayals in classical mythology inspired our portrayals in Hades. Let's start with Hades himself.
What is it now? I've a mountain of infernal parchment work.
He's often relegated to the role of villain in many modern adaptations of Greek myth, but in
Sí.
classical mythology, he's a complicated guy, and much more principled than some of his brothers or sisters. He's so fascinating, we made a whole game about him. As the god of the dead, Hades has an imposing reputation to live up to, so he even has a monstrous pet in the three-headed hound of hell,
El sabueso,
The
cancerbero,
idea that the
cancerbero.
savage beast was still somebody's pet dog crystallized how we wanted to portray the gods in Hades, that despite being immortal and all-powerful, they're not so different from the rest of us. Though, let's not forget Zagreus. We've heard from many players who figured Zagreus was a god of our own creation. After all, who's ever heard of Hades having any kids? But according to some ancient sources, he did.
Ah, es hijo de Hades.
My ransacking was a delight, thank you for asking. So I'll just be on my way again.
In classical mythology, Zagreus is a little-known chthonic god, meaning a god of the underworld, sometimes associated with Dionysus, the god of wine. But in other cases, he is associated with Hades. How could Hades have a son nobody knows about? How does he fit into the myths we do know of Hades? We were so drawn to answering these questions that they form the basis for the entire story of this game. If you're the prince of the underworld, who do you get as your personal trainer? That would be Achilles, a near-invincible warrior in his day, once called the greatest of the Greeks.
Good to see you, lad.
Aquiles, coño, no estaba leyéndolo, tío. Aquiles. Achiles. Aquiles.
Is but another obstacle.
Hades takes place after his untimely demise during the Trojan War, once he's had a lot of time to reflect on his life choices. Achilles lived in glory, so he's got an okay gig in the afterlife, but some wretched souls end up in a really bad spot in the underworld.
Tiene buena pinta este juego, tío. Tiene buena pinta, cojones.
Ever stubborn, aren't you? Maybe my whip might make you reconsider whatever it is that you're attempting here.
She is one of the three Fury sisters tasked with torturing some of the absolute worst souls for all eternity.
Encargar de
And in
torturar.
our game, she's also tasked with making sure Zagreus doesn't make it out of the underworld. These two have a lot of history, and since the story of Hades keeps moving forward each time you play, the more you run into Megara, the better you'll get to know her. There's also Thanatos.
Thanatos.
He may decide to drop in on you when he isn't busy
Como
whisking
mola el
the
dibujo,
souls of
tío.
the recently departed to the underworld.
Thought you could just get away from me, did you?
He is the personification of death, according to Greek myth, though represents more of a peaceful death than, say, the kind that happened a lot during something like the Trojan War. So even though he can seem a little sinister at first, in the spirit of the mythology, we wanted our Thanatos to have a gentler side. Thanatos has a couple of brothers in Hades, such as Hypnos here, the personification
El
of
sueño, el
sleep.
dios del sueño.
says here one of the wretched thugs got you. Too bad.
When he's not dozing on the job, Hypnos can comment on every single possible way you can die in this game, of the dozens and dozens of different possibilities. Where did all these gods of the underworld come from anyway? According to the Theogony, an ancient Greek creation myth by Hesiod that introduces all the gods and their ancestors, many of the chthonic gods came from Nyx, the personification of night.
Darkness guide you, child. You have outgrown this house. Of that I am now certain. Should you return again here, I shall keep you safe.
She is a primordial goddess, meaning she
Una
is
diosa
much
primigenia.
older even than Hades or the Olympians. And in our game,
Di por hecho que es real. O sea, real, ya me entendéis, ¿no? Que es detalles reales de la mitología.
There are 30 different characters to meet and grow closer to the
guay,
more
tío.
you play Hades, and we hope you enjoy getting to know them all. Some of them feel truly ancient and godlike. Some are funny,
guay,
some
tío.
are
Los
scary.
diseños están
We found
guapísimos,
them
tío.
incredibly inspiring and hope you do too. Once you get to meet everybody when Hades comes to Xbox One and Series X on August 13th.
El arte mola un montón. Lo probaré. Ese sale este año, el de Lunk. El de Lunk tiene también muy buena pinta y sale este año también. Y sin embargo no se mostró en el E3. Ese. También el Dark Tide, se anunció el año pasado. Este lo he probado antes. Este es el que digo, de Gunk.
Да пошел ты.
Y este pinta muy raro, este juego ruso. Este también lo quiero. Este también lo quiero. Tiene pinta de ser un juego de 4 horitas, 5 horitas como mucho, pero tiene buena pinta, coño. Medieval, no sé qué, está disponible hoy ya, dice. Promoción. 3 meses, 1 euro. 3 meses, 1 euro, ¿sabes? O sea, que no haya sido... Que no haya usado Game Pass 3 putos meses por 1 euro. Menuda barbaridad.
Here to tell us more about the Grounded update are Adam and Eric from Obsidian Entertainment. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a real honor.
No, absolutely. Love Grounded, love everything that you guys have been doing with it. Now, my first question is this mushroom system. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so that's one of the big things for the Shroom and Doom update is mushrooms. We're really changing how the yard is with mushrooms.
Vale, ha incluido setas, cosa que no estaba.
Yard is now harvestable, which is really cool. So the small ones, the big ones, the big toadstools, the ones that you find in caves.
Creo que había setas, pero
in the yard before, but now
no
you
lo
can
sé.
actually harvest
No
them
sé si no podías...
and get mushroom stuff out of them.
Hostia, tío, puedes hacer construcciones de piedra, eso no lo sabía.
Is that we're adding a couple base building elements like mushroom bricks.
Yeah.
So you have to take all those mushrooms that you find, and then you have to grind them up in a grinder, which is a new building, and then you have to take them to your oven, which is another new building that we're adding, and
Joder, tío.
bake the mushroom stuff into bricks, and then With the mushroom brick buildings, there's a whole host of new options for
Qué
base
guay.
builders, and it's more fortified walls and a bunch of other options, so you can build a cool big castle.
Oh, that's really cool. Now, we saw the Brood Mother, so you're bringing
Qué guay.
bosses into Grounded. What can you tell me about that? What does that mean for the direction of the game as we move forward?
Yeah, so the Brood Mother's our first
Un
boss.
boss, un war boss.
We actually launched with the Brood Mother, and we didn't really feel it hit the right mark. So we took the Brood Mother out, and we wanted to spend a lot of time making it a really memorable boss fight. So we put a lot of development effort
Hostia, a tope con la
and it's
aracnofobia.
going to really feel like a big, huge fight and a memorable one. There's a lot of kind of cool things with it. I don't want to spoil everything. I want players to kind of experience it for themselves. But it definitely is something that we want players' feedback to see, like, what do they like? What do they not like? How is the challenge? We want to make it really challenging and have a good reward for defeating the Brood Mother. But is it too hard? We'd like to know that.
Pero hay
So,
healers en este juego, no hay healers, ¿verdad? O sea, simplemente puedes ir equipado. Puedes ir equipado en plan tanque. Después puede haber uno que vaya con un arma cuerpo a cuerpo, con arco, pero no hay healer, ¿no? O sea, ¿cómo curas? ¿Cómo te curas?
Is there any tips you can kind of give people ahead of time on what they can do to survive that encounter?
I would definitely say that you would need to make sure you have the highest tier armor.
La mejor armadura.
Really well for this fight because it is going to be difficult. And then you also want to have the right mutations equipped as
Mutaciones, no
well.
sé qué son mutaciones, no lo he jugado tanto.
And if you're playing with your friends, it might be good for one of your friends or yourself to use the brand new crossbow we're going to put into the game, so you can have some ranged DPS while someone else like face tanks the Brood Mother.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. So again, going back to community, I know you love getting feedback about Grounded, obviously starting as an early access game, but what are some of the things that you're looking for as far as in this update? What was something that you got feedback-wise from the community that you put in this update?
Yeah, so there's it's one thing that we love working with community. So that's something that we, as developers, we love just hearing what people have to say about the game, and we're continually developing it with the community. So there's a lot of new things in our new update.
Que la última vez dijeron que van a haber menos actualizaciones, pero más grandes, ¿sabéis? Hasta ahora habían más pequeñas y más habitualmente. Ahora habrá menos, pero más grandes.
One of our funnier features that we're adding is sitting in chairs. Yeah. So it's something that a lot of people really wanted.
We're also interested in like the first phase of pets in the game. So we're going to start with aphids. So you'll be able to tame an aphid, run around the yard with the aphid. But you also got to make sure you protect your aphid because accidents can happen in the backyard.
Oh, there's one other thing too, achievements. So we're really excited to announce that we have achievements in Grounded, and that's
incluyen ya los logros,
incluyen logros ya. Everyone's been wanting achievements, and so we're finally adding them to the game.
That's really good. Now, again, sticking with this, the topic of community. So this was an early access game, and it sounds like pretty much the foundation of what Grounded is was built off of community feedback. So how does that process work internally?
A ver si dicen cuándo tienen pensado más o menos lanzar la versión final, tío, la versión 1.0.
Like, how does that whole process work?
So we have a lot of
Porque yo lo doy para finales de año o principios del que viene, más o menos.
We do weekly developer streams where chat can ask a bunch of questions when we have Adam on or other developers or myself, and we'll gather feedback and sessions there. And then our main source of feedback is through our official Discord, Grounded the Game. And I use a series of bots to gather a bunch of feedbacks from the players, and then from there, me, Adam, a couple members of the team, and also from the community team get together, and we have a weekly meeting going over all the suggestions and kind of prioritizing what will work and what we can put later in the future for like other suggestions.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking some time to come talk to me
Mola un
about this
montón,
new
Grounded, la
update
verdad.
for Grounded.
Mola un
It
montón.
looks like a lot of
A los que
fun.
les
We're gonna get to
guste
sit,
lo que
I
es
guess,
el tema de construir y tal, y supervivencia, la verdad es que Grounded supongo que
at the multiplayer trailer for Halo Infinite.
es un poco de aire fresco, ¿no? Es un soplo de aire fresco al género, ¿no?
The slopes and the powder spray look like when powered by Xbox Series X and S. This is Shredders.
Redes, ¿cuál es?
Hey there and welcome to the stream.
Vale, voy a mirar mientras tanto.
On our snowboard game that's called Shredders. I'm Dirk van Welden, project lead at Foam Punch.
Hello, this is Marcus Foshmo, tech lead on Shredders and Foam Punch.
Yeah, you've probably seen our trailer at the Xbox event. We've been tinkering on this game for a while now, and while it's still in development, we're happy to show you more of this game. So I'm switching to our developer drone cam. I can actually spawn wherever I want, like instantly. But I first want to show you some of the areas we've been working on. This mountain resort is called Frozen Wood. It's inspired by some of the resorts in the French Alps where I've been snowboarding a lot. It has these cozy parks, side kickers, half pipes, really big rails, a lot of features in there, way more than you would expect in a normal mountain resort. But hey, this is a video game and we want as many features as possible. So yeah, like I said, this is completely open and you can go snowboarding anywhere you'd like. You can do some missions, there's like a story evolving around the main character that wants to participate in a kick-ass invitational border cross event. We can also just cruise around and find some nice lines with a good flow, like for example here in this pillow-like environment that was shown in the trailer. Or you can go up there, like take some huge kickers and big rails at the big park. And just look how big this mountain range is. Like we've got space for industrial areas and street areas, there's backcountry, high mountain riding, there's even an old Italian looking village you can shred. A lot of these locations have been inspired by events happening all over the world and snowboarding movies that inspired us these past years. It's kind of a tribute to, in fact. Also, anywhere you go, you can always run due to our real-time lighting engine. But hey, having a fun and realistic environment is nice, but it's not fun without nailing the riding itself, right?
Yeah, so for the actual snowboarding, a big inspiration for us all, I think, has been pro riders, snowboard movies, and all the crazy stuff that they do on a snowboard. And of course, ourselves riding in real life and just having fun and being creative on a snowboard. That's something that we want to bring into the game. Conceptually, we're trying to keep the convention of one stick for the board and one stick for the body, and directly map that onto the snowboarder. So at any point you should get a physical or animation response as soon as you're touching those sticks. And it gives you a lot of freedom in your playstyle, so you can choose to be smooth and lazy, or if you are more like fast and aggressive, or you can change up your style however you want.
Toma.
You want the motions
Ese soy yo.
fluid,
Totalmente.
stylish, while still being very reactive. So that's a big challenge, and we had to create a complete animation system dedicated just for this. And here you can see the board interacting with the snow. He puts some weight into his turn, and he really digs in those edges into the snow for a clean carve. Or you can just use the board stick here to speed check, to line up for a feature. But you can also use both of the sticks combined for even greater control. Yeah, like here you can see him balancing on the tail of the board. This is called buttering.
Supongo que este juego será más... estará más...
Just as in normal riding.
Joder, tenía la palabra cogida, pero... tendrá más profundidad, pero... no sé yo... Estando el juego de Ubisoft que anunció Ubisoft, que va a ser como un montón de minijuegos, ¿sabéis? Va a haber snowboard, de bicis y tal. No sé cómo de profundo será el de Ubisoft, pero claro, si este no es más profundo, digamos es más especial, se especializa mejor en el tema del snowboard, la verdad es que es algo que a este juego le es contraproducente. Al fin y al cabo, el de Ubisoft abarca más tipos de juegos.
A new day is upon us. A new generation built to fight.
Yo creo que beta va a haber para verano, para finales de verano, o va a haber beta de Halo. Antes de terminar verano hay una beta. No scope. Arma nueva, arma nueva. Creo que no hay física en los cuerpos. O sea, hay muchas veces que mueren igual. Hay ciertas muertes, o al menos la forma de morir, posiblemente al caer el cuerpo es física, pero la forma de morir muchas veces es igual. Lo que es justo la animación de morirse, después al caer al suelo. Tendrá física, pero justo cuando muere... Creo que son animaciones concretas.
The flag is ours. Please call at your earliest convenience.
Y dad por seguro que va a haber un modo Battle Royale. Dadlo por hecho, Dad por hecho que va a haber un modo Battle Royale o algo del estilo.
Now, show me what you can do.
I am so excited to have Tom, Alex, and Quinn from 343 Industries. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Now, I've watched this multiplayer trailer numerous times, and I want to see some specific moments from it so we can break it down. So can we roll the trailer to 15 seconds in, and let's talk about a new character?
Sí, eso estaba mirando yo de las barbas.
A new generation built to fight. Together, we are unstoppable. Are you ready?
All right, now who is this character? She looks like she's in charge.
Your senses are right there. She's very much in charge. That's Commander Lorette. She's in charge of the Spartan Academy,
which
is the kind of contextual wrapper that the whole multiplayer universe
Vale,
lives
está al mando de la academia.
Basically training the new generation of Spartans
La nueva generación de Spartans, ¿pero qué son? ¿Spartan 4? ¿Spartan 3? ¿Spartan 5? ¿Qué cojones?
Not only is it kind of the contextual wrapper for the game, but it's also, we have a whole suite of academy features, we call them, where there's a tutorial that teaches the players the fundamental basics of the game. There's weapon drills that let you practice with every weapon that exists in the game and improve your skills with those. And then there's a whole thing we call training mode, which lets you play against bots on any map, basically, in the game, and lets you experiment with the toys and kind of learn the flows of everything. So we really want to bring players on board with the game, and again, under her orders and her charge.
Now, I want to go to 50 seconds in the trailer because there was a lot of action going on, and I want to check that out.
Hombre, ya veremos, depende de la historia que incluyan, aún no ha terminado. O sea, aún no ha terminado.
Now, you may have noticed I sat up in my chair a little bit on that one because there was a lot going on there. So please, if you can break that down, let me know what we were seeing.
There's a lot to break down. I don't know if we got enough time to get all the way into it. But some of the things that I really love when I look at that trailer is that first sequence where the player, they have the bulldog shotgun,
Queen del Hoyo se llama.
shotgunning enemies.
Queen del Hoyo.
Grab the commando off the
Buen apellido, mejor persona.
Put some shots in, low sensor. Like, there's all sorts of different things that the player is interacting with, and that's the sandbox. That's what we call the sandbox, the toys that is at the disposal for our players' hands. And we just really love that moment in the trailer where they have the grapple shot, they look up, grapple the ceiling, and then in midair, no scope snipe an enemy, come all the way down, back whack a foe, and then the rest is history as you just see what happened in that trailer. But that's just some of the stuff that
ese tipo de jugadas es algo que siempre sale en los trailers, pero no son jugadas habituales. No son jugadas que salgan fáciles.
Halo multiplayer than like interacting with the sandbox and combining it, picking it up off the map and combining it into awesome play styles. So what we did was every sandbox item in the game, when it spawns, it's spawning on an object in the map, so you can see where those things can be found. And then it also tells you the respawn time of that item, when it's going to come back. And you always know I can go grab that commando over at this spot like that guy did. So, and then when the players, you know,
Dice por
accrue all
los
those
problemas que no
awesome
tenemos,
items and do
totalmente.
awesome things, you know, you heard the return of
Bueno,
Jeff
aún no,
Spicer, the
aún no
multiplayer
teniendo manos,
announcer,
de vez en cuando puede
shouting
salirte
out
alguna
medals.
jugada,
So
¿eh?
we always want to give players medals when they do really
Buenas,
cool
fenomenal.
things.
Pues
So you
bien,
heard
aquí
some there, and you'll hear
viendo
some
esto.
later on in the trailer.
That's awesome. See, when I watch that, to me, that's Halo. That's Halo to me. I absolutely love that. Now, let's skip ahead a little bit more into the trailer to 57 seconds. I heard a voice, so I want to know what this voice is. Let's see it.
¿Y tú qué tal?
Hello, let's do some damage.
Vale, esos son potenciadores.
Yeah, so that is
Esos
the
serán
player's,
potenciadores.
personal AI.
Sí.
So in Halo 5, there was a squad leader that announced, you know, when weapons are going to
Sí.
come up and other things going
Esto
on
es
in
la
the
IA de
match.
cada
And
jugador.
in Infinite, we
Cada
have
jugador
the player,
tiene su propia...
like Chief has Cortana, they have a personal AI in their
Exacto.
helmet that is kind of telling them these things. And it's also another way that players can show their personality in their characters. So there's multiple personalities and characters for the player to choose, so that the right AI is in their helmet helping them out in combat.
O sea, cada jugador podrá elegir una voz distinta y será esa IA la que nos anuncie cuando aparecen las armas y nos digan cosas a lo largo de la pantalla, de la partida. No pasa nada, no te preocupes.
Claim the enemy flag. Return it to base.
O sea, se limitan a hacer entrevistas. Ahora han anunciado alguna cosilla, pero se hacen todo en entrevistas, básicamente. Tal y como dijeron.
The flag is ours. Please call at your earliest
A ver si dan algún detalle de cuándo puede haber una beta multijugador. Una beta multijugador, una beta.
Like Big Team Battle to me. What's coming new? What are we
A
going
ver.
to be doing Big Team Battle in Infinite?
I mean, it's not even just that. I mean, it actually opens with actually a 4v4 with a vehicles map called Behemoth at the beginning. So we actually are bringing vehicles back into the 4v4 arena. But then, yes, it definitely transitions into the 12v12 actually BTB part of the game, where we're actually making it a bigger team battle this time. Really wanting to index into the battle fantasy with the more players. Instead of like vehicles just spawning around the map, we have pelicans drop them off. We have ordnance pods that drop in new weapons.
Tiene un diseño es el diseño de los desterrados. Diría que es el diseño de los desterrados, de los banshees de los desterrados.
Yeah, Tom brings up some good points there of Commander Lorette and this.
Que la facción de los desterrados es
Commander
roja.
on the comms,
Lo que son vehículos y armaduras son rojos.
Vehicles and items off. You got drop pods, everything. It just is like this theater of war that this time around it is this 12v12 bigger team battle, if you will. And just that ending segment, which is like a capture the flag match, is just so beautiful and awesome. Where you've got the Pelican drop the Banshee off, teams fight over it. You and your teammate are just making a beeline for the Banshee. Your teammate gets picked off by the sniper, and you're like, oh no! And then you get the skewer, take that sniper out, jump into the Banshee, and you hit the jets and fly up into the sky and go for the enemy flag. That to us is what is so exciting about this version of Big Team Battle, with all of the toys, all the vehicles, the modes coming back, the maps, the brand new maps that you see there. I mean, it's going to be an amazing experience.
Yeah, trust me, I cannot wait to get my hands on it for myself. But let's move on. I want to go to 208 in the trailer because I think I saw a samurai. So let's check that out. Let's go to 208.
Pues es una armadura, coño, ¿qué cojones va a ser? Una armadura. Pero oye, pillar las cosas en el aire, cuidado, Eso es complicado de cojones, Lo del gancho no va a ser moco de pavo, Manejar bien el gancho.
Okay, so I guess next will be a ninja because that was definitely a samurai. So kind of talk about that. So we're going to start seeing some more customization with the armor coming in.
Yeah, I mean, that is a samurai Spartan armor. And so it'll be an armor you'll be able to unlock for free in the first season, which is super cool. Players will be able to equip it, gain more armor.
Vale, va a ser una armadura gratuita.
Options for it, et cetera, across
La armadura
the
del samurai.
We actually have more of this stuff kind of coming down the line. There's actually some really cool ideas that we're seeing in that our team that's building that stuff. So there'll be a lot of other cool armors besides just the really core Halo Spartan armors. There'll be some other different kind of twists and things for players to play with.
Awesome. Look, now before we get out of here, first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here to talk about Halo Infinite. I'm excited.
Beta, hijo de puta, pregúntale por la beta.
But before we do leave,
Coño.
is there anything else that you want to bring up and let fans out there know about?
Well, I'm excited for people to actually get their hands on it, like yourself. So, I mean, if people sign up on our Halo's Insiders program, we have in the summer we have a
Pero beta abierta, beta cerrada.
preview that we're going to be launching, and so people to
No hay
finally
insider
put their
este.
hands on the sticks. And I'm just really excited for players to actually finally get to play the game we're working on.
Yeah, and then on launch day, Halo Infinite Multiplayer is free to play, which is new to the franchise. The team is super excited to hopefully bring in, you know, all sorts of fans that have potentially never experienced the franchise or haven't played it in a long time to just try it out. Come in and try it out with your friends.
Me, with my
A ver cómo le va a este Halo en el multijugador. A ver, puede petarlo un poco.
Let's jump in, download it, let's
A ver cómo lo
check it
hacen.
out. And if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, then hey, it's not. But kind of think it'll be for you. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that's the other big key of that point is PC, right? Like this is a PC game as well. We've been putting a lot of effort into that. So not only is it going to be console, but also PC, it's free to play. Like the barrier to entry is so low, and that has us excited. And I think as we really, just to really think about it, is we've been working on this game. And as developers, when you work on a game, you want to get that game out there. And that almost seems like, for us, that's the finish line. But in reality, it's going to be the starting line for all of us, for us and the Halo fans. Day one, there's going to be a bunch of content there and things that are exciting and good. But then we're going to add more content. We're going to add more maps.
Lo que me parece curioso es cómo cojones no dan fecha ya de Halo Infinite. No lo entiendo. No soy capaz de entenderlo. O sea, dan fecha de Starfield, que sale para finales del año que viene. Y sin embargo de Halo Infinite no dan ni fecha. No lo entiendo. Cuando salen en 7 meses.
Check out the brand new deep dive video with the whole multiplayer team over on HaloWaypoint.com. And allow me to give a big thanks to everyone who's joined us today. Whether you play your favorite games on Xbox, PC, or Game Pass, the next 12 months will be nothing short of spectacular. It has been my absolute honor
Ha estado bien, ha estado entretenido. Eso da miedillo, la verdad que sí. Da miedillo, la verdad, porque que no hayan dado ya fecha es un poco hostias. ¿Qué es buzo? ¿Buzo es chaqueta? La chaqueta que tenía el presentador.
見た目ビジュアルのこのスカーレットネクサスのビジュアルの特徴だとか、あとはキャラクターの見た目だとか、さまざまなルックスについてこのクリップでは紹介しようと思ってます。はい、この都市はこの世界の中では一番大きな都市というふうに紹介されています。ここはスオという都市で、このゲームの中心になる場所です。でこのスオの都市の見た目のインスピレーションは東京の景色と日本の90年代の景色をイメージしてます。ユニークなビジュアル部分っていうのはいくらかあると思うんですけれど、あと今回はセルシェーディングとリアリスティックな背景を合成するような見た目を選んでいるんですけれど、それはまず密度感を表現したいからというのが一つありました。であともう一つはそのセルシェーディングのキャラクターとリアリスティックな映像が混ざることによってまたそこでも異質な見た目、ちょっと面白い見た目にならないかなっていうのも模索しました。でただ単にセルシェーディングのキャラクターとリアリスティックな背景を浮いてしまって見た目が変になってしまうっていうのを懸念してたんですけれど、うまくそこを混ざるように工夫したっていうのが今回の苦労した点の一つであります。
Tiene una pinta. Me gustan los diseños. No sé si lo compraré de lanzamiento. Tenía pensado comprarlo de lanzamiento, pero me han salido otras cosas y no sé si lo compraré de lanzamiento, pero tiene una pinta.
その東京タワーがものすごく大きなサイズになっていて、でこれ3000メートル富士山と同じぐらいサイズがあるんですけど、それだけ大きなもの本当はそんなにサイズない。
3000 metros la torre de Tokio del juego. Me cago en la puta.
東京タワーをそれだけ大きくすることによってちょっとおかしい異質な景色みたいのを作りたいっていうのがありました。そのさっき東京の都市をいろいろと混ぜるみたいな話をしたと思うんですけれど、それというのもその僕たちも知ってる街なんだけれどちょっとおかしいみたいなそういった異質さを出したいっていうのがありまして、なので東京タワーも僕たちは知ってるものだけどすごく大きなこんな大きなサイズじゃないんだけどこういったものが街の中にあるってことで何かちょっと変な場所だなって思ってほしいっていうのがありました。
los escenarios.
で
Al
大
menos
きな
fue lo que me
桜の木っていう
transmitió.
のは日本を代表する桜
Me
の
dio
木
esa
なんで
sensación.
すけど、それがあまりにも大きなサイズになっていて、これもさっきの東京タワーと同じで異質さを感じてほ
Ah,
しいと
tiene
思っているというこ
escenarios
とです。
inspirados en la vida real.
でこれが本作の特徴となる怪異という
Un jugador
主人公た
tóxico.
ちに立ちはだか
Esos
る
son
敵なん
jugadores
ですけど、
tóxicos.
こ
Nuestra
の
misión es
見た目につ
matarlos.
いては私はその新規 IP 新しい IP の新しいクリーチャーということで変わった見た目、何か興味を引く見た目にしたいというのが一つありました。でその上で私たちの感覚とは違うものを取り入れたいというのがきっかけにありまして、実際にアーティストの力を借りてこの怪異のデザインを再現しています。でそのアーティストの表現というのはその美しさがありながらもその死の世界だとかそのネガティブなイメージとポジティブなイメージを一つにしたような幻想的な表現をする作家の方なんですけれど、また彼らの動きについてこだわっているのは
La rareza de los diseños, parece hasta como monstruos de Silent Hill, casi.
私たちと違うものであるっていうのを表現したいっていうのがあったので、動きの中に一見動物のようで急に違うような動きをするだとか、人間のようでいて人間と違うような動きをするだとか、そんなモーションを取り込んでます。なのでモーションを作る時には人間っぽい部分だけはモーションキャプチャーを使ってるんですけど、そうでない部分は手付けなどにしてその人間の動きとそうでない動きをミックスさせることで不思議な動きにできないかなというのを考えていました。
はい、共に新入隊員として入隊したキャラクターが2人いるというところで、同じ時系列から始まって、ただその同じ境遇に置かれている一つの物語をそれぞれの視点から描いていく。でそれぞれ視点で描くことで、その時片方の視点では見えなかった
Esto se puede ver en la demo. Esto se puede ver en la demo, que puedes elegir tanto al chico como a la chica.
楽しんでいただける、そういうストーリーの楽しみ方を皆さんに提供
Pues
したい
sí,
と思って今回
esto puede llegar fácilmente a Game Pass dentro de unos
1
meses.
人目がこちらですね、ゆいとすめらぎキャラクターですね。彼はですね非常に正義感が強くて、幼い頃に怪飛ばすぐに自分が怪から救われたっていう経験を持っていて、でその経験から自らも怪飛ばすぐに志願して入隊したっていうキャラクターになっています。はい、そしてもう一人がこちらのカサネランドールですね。はい、彼女はですね非常に優れた超能力を持っているもうエリートと呼ばれる、キャラクターですね。怪討伐軍からも、スカウトして入隊した、非常に、優秀なキャラクターです。左側がですねこの重ねの視点ですね。で右側がユイトの視点でのイベントシーンになっていきますが、今重ねの視点でご覧いただいた通りちょっとユイトの姿が見えたりとかしています。で今重ねの方ですね一緒に同行しているキャラクター、このキャラクターが
Yakuza 0 es un juegazo.
未来予知の能力を
Yakuza 0 esa misión es muy graciosa.
ユイトたちがやられそうだなっていうのはちょっと分かるようなシーンになっています。この頃ユイトの方は今止めてますけど、これはユイトの方では入らずに次のシーンに進んでいきます。という形で、進んでいくと、こういうふうに怪異が降ってきて同じような状況に置かれてしまう。ユイトの方ではこういうふうになってるんだなっていうのは分からずに進んでいきますが、重ねの方ではやっぱりそうなったかっていう形で物語が進行していきます。こういうふうに同じ一つのシーンでもですねそれぞれがつながりを持って感じられる、そういうふうなストーリーラインを作ろうとして今回のこの
Eso está bien, eso está bien. Pero tiene que estar bien hecho de verdad. Tiene que estar bien hecho de verdad. Que realmente sean hechos paralelos y que no se repitan. Porque en la demo se repiten. En la demo luchas contra los mismos enemigos, contra los mismos jefes.
2人のこのストーリー緻密にこういうふうに絡み合ったつながりを持った一つのストーリーとして完成させるまでにやはり2年から3年の歳月を要しております。であとはですね、アクションの部分に関しても、開発チームとすごく議論して決めてまして、特にこの念力アクションもどういうふうに
Hay secundarios que son la leche.
皆さんが
Hay secundarios que son la leche en Yakuza.
直感的に気持ちよくなってもらえるかっていうところは、非常に
Con la leche quiero decir graciosas.
議論を重ねてできてきた部分がありますので、この念力を使う
son una ida de olla.
のこのストーリーですね、物語っていうのをぜひ楽しんでもらえればと思います。
はい、本作はですねもともと僕が サイボーグ009とかいろんなキャラクターがいろんな能力を使って戦う集団っていうものが大好きで、そういういろんな能力を使う集団を改めてゲーム化したいっていう思いで企画を立ち上げました。あとサイキックアクションのもう一つの主軸としてSAS というものがあります。正式名称はストラグルアームズシステムというんですけど、仲間キャラクターから超能力を借り受けるシステムですね。脳を接続して仲間キャラクターから超能力を借り受けることで、いろんな超能力をユートと重ねは使えるようになります。今画面上では放電の超能力を今使おうとしてるんですけど、放電の超能力だけに限らず、瞬間移動とか
a mí hubo cosas que me gustaron y cosas que no. Y no sé si es porque te dan tanta información que te lías.
本作のキーワード
Pero
として
hubo cosas que me gustaron y otras que no.
サスを使った時に赤いケーブルが背中に刺さって戦うことができますの。そうですね、サスケーブルデザインする時にそうですね、見た人の印象に残ってインパクトに残したいってことがまずあったんですよね。でそういう時見た時に過去タイトル見た時に例えばキングゲイナー
eso es otra cosa. Hay demasiada información en pantalla. Hay demasiada. La interfaz está demasiado relleno. Está demasiado rellenada, sí. Totalmente. Mucho texto.
インスパイアされながらデザインっていうものを進めた経緯がありますね。はい、本作ですね、念力で戦うんですけど、単純に投げ飛ばすだけじゃなくて、このロケーションに置いてあるオブジェクトをいろいろ活用することができます。今工事現場にあるので、工事現場のロケーションなのでダンプを上から落としたんですけど、そのようにロケーションに合ったオブジェクトを自分なりに扱うことができるってところが、はい、ここはそうですね、ドラム缶の中から水を出して貝を水浸しにしてます。でその後サスの放電で戦うことで水浸しになった貝を電気でしびれさせるということもできるので、超能力念力とサスを組み合わせて戦うというところが一つ特徴となっております。しっかり遊びたい人もカジュアルに遊びたい人も幅広く楽しめるものとなっております。はい、プレイヤーはですね、このようにブレインフィールドっていうね特別な必殺技を使うことができます。これはですね、海抜軍が使うことができる近畿の技で非常に強力なんですけど、同時に非常に危険な技でもあります。ユートと重ねが展開することでオブジェクトが空間内に浮き上がって念力は使い放題になるんですけど、一方で非常に強い負荷が脳にかかってしまいますね。なので自分の言動がちょっとおかしなことを言ってしまったりとか、あとは聞こえないノイズのような幻聴が聞こえたりとか、あとこのように途中で頭抱えて動けなくなったりとか、そういうことがあります。で加えてですね、この残り時間の秒数があるんですけど、これが制限時間が過ぎるとゲームオーバーになってしまうっていう非常に危険な技になっております。はい、なんだけど非常に危険な技なんですけど、それをうまく使いこなして戦う自分がかっこいいっていう風な思いをプレイヤーに感じ取ってもらいたいなと思っております。あとブレインフィールド発動したらフードをかぶってたくさんケーブルが刺さった異様な姿になるかなと思うんですけど、これもダークヒーローっぽいかっこよさがすごく危険な超能力を自分が扱って戦ってるってところを感じ取ってもらいたくて、このようなデザインにしております。はい、こちらブレインマップと呼ばれるシステムになりますね。こちらはプレイヤーが成長するスキルツリーとなっております。このようにちょっと脳みその形をデザインしたツリーを意識して作ってます。で今チャージがため攻撃ができるようになりましたね。
Hubo algo en el control que no me convenció tampoco. ¿Qué fue? Hubo algo que la forma de tarjetear, la forma de marcar a los enemigos, hubo cosas que no me convencieron a nivel jugable. Hubo cosas que no me convencieron a nivel jugable. Sí, y otras cosas que sí me gustaron. No sé, es un poco...
いくつかのカテゴリーのスキルを習得することができるようになっています。で脳みそを脳神経を拡張していくような
Me pareció está muy bien implementado cómo usar el poder mental ¿cómo se diría?
そういう体系になることを意識してデザインしております。
psicoquinesis. Está bien implementado, tú estás jugando muy fácilmente y pulsas el gatillo derecho y automáticamente envías un objeto, coge un objeto que haya cercano y lo tira al enemigo. Está muy bien implementado eso.
仲間との絆ですね。仲間と絆形成することで絆の力が強くなると絆レベルというものが上がって仲間から買い受ける超能力っていうものが強力になってきます。ブレインマップと通常のレベルとあとは仲間との絆を形成して成長させるってところがこの3つがこのゲームの成長システムになっております。
Pero este juego han dado mucha información ya. Han dado mucha información, también ha habido demos disponibles, así que tampoco no van a decir nada de esto. Es simplemente esto básicamente es pura publicidad. Va a ir a 60 FPS, eso estaba claro ya.
リッチな体験になってるなというふうに感じます。はい、開発チーム一同ね、スタッフ個々が全力で携わったタイトルですので、ぜひ楽しみにしていただけると嬉しいです。From my team and I, please enjoy Scarlet Nexus.
Scarlet Nexus. Pues lo más interesante con diferencia ha sido pues las imágenes así ligeramente in-game que han habido de Hellblade y en fin un poco, yo que sé, pues lo típico en cuanto a detalles de juegos, pues lo habitual, ¿no? Lo típico. También que la actualización para A Plague Tale, para series X y S. Y así creo que eso diría que han sido los detalles lo más relevante que ha habido, sin más, básicamente. El resto, pues, en fin, un poco hablar de... Bueno, sí, también las novedades que han dicho de la nueva facción de Age of Empires 4, que no me acuerdo de cómo se llama. En fin, pequeños detallitos, pero tampoco gran cosa. Lo de Grounded, básicamente no han dado ningún detalle al respecto. Simplemente han hablado de la actualización tocha que va a haber. Y ya está. Ha estado bien. Lo mejor, por supuesto, y de puntazo es que estuviese traducido. Lo mejor. Si no, esto no lo aguanto yo 2 horas ni de puta coña. Ni de coña, vamos. Pero bueno, ¿qué hora es? Vale, son ya las 9. Voy a ir cortando. Ya seguramente entonces ya no haga directo. Esta noche no creo que haga directo. Pero bueno, si hiciera, pues avisaría por Twitter y ya está. Y si no hago, pues ya nos vemos mañana. Sobre las 5:30, como siempre. Y nada, gracias por pasaros. Que tengáis un buen día y hasta luego. Bye, bye.